Greetings.
Greetings. Welcome to Film Gazers, a podcast focusing on the science fiction, horror, fantasy, trinity, and 20th century entertainment. I'm Steph.
I'm Jess. We're cousins slash besties. Join us as we reminisce, discuss, and review films from our childhood.
Meowdy.
Meowdy.
It is going to be the last episode of September,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll be launching into October. That's how time works.
We've gone through August. We've gone through September.
I feel like this month is just going by really quick. I mean, it's still technically early, but by the time this episode releases, like, I don't know, it just felt really, really quick. I've also been sick again and hoping I'm better for, as we already mentioned, we have a big tubing
Tubing
adventure
down the
planned.
river.
Tubing. So we're getting prepared for all that. We've already announced October multiple times. Spooky Shaloub, gonna get the Monk movie. You're gonna get 13 Ghosts. It's
Get
gonna be
into it.
great. It's gonna be great. And then we just decided on November's little sneak peek. We don't have the movies like for the episodes picked out yet. That is going to be called Big Back November.
It's about food because obviously Thanksgiving's in November.
Yes. So that'll be fun. We didn't think we were going to have like a theme around the holiday, but then that just came to Jessica and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Sounds good. Should we
So,
announce December or no?
let's leave them hanging just for a
Okay.
little bit
Little
because
anticipation.
it is really good, you guys.
It's pretty good, if I say
It's
so myself.
it's pretty damn good. So what you been watching? What you been doing?
I actually wrote it down in the notes. Still going through RuPaul. Can't
Nice.
seem to stop.
You're like, I'm addicted.
I'm addicted right now. I'm like, every time I search through a new list, I'm like, no, no, meh, no.
You're
Like
back to
usually,
RuPaul.
so I'm like, just RuPaul. It's soothing. And then I've been falling asleep in the recliner a lot lately.
Oh, turn turn
So
turn it into your
I'm turning into my mother
yeah.
officially. But
I
I
mean,
did
or your dad.
rewatch,
Your parents
right,
both are the recliner sleepers.
recliner
The
sleepers. I don't
recliner,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, more so than couch. And I get it now that I have a new to me recliner.
Nice.
I'm like, oh my God. Because then you can just, and then when you have to go to bed, you can just unrecline and go straight from standing. You don't have to like roll off the couch. It's better for the knees.
That's funny.
And then I also rewatched Matilda.
Nice. I haven't watched that one, yeah, in a really long time.
I think it was been like 20 years since I watched
Probably,
it.
yeah, I was gonna say probably since
It was
childhood.
cute. It was cute.
It's kind of fucked up.
It's yeah, I was like, don't think they could make that movie now.
Yeah, and I love that Danny DeVito is the one who directed and was like involved.
And his wife was his wife in the movie.
Yeah, that's right. Rhea Perlman, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Because there was this one scene where the principal who was like the, you know, super bitch,
Trunchbull.
Trunchbull. She threw a girl by her pigtails, like a little girl.
Yes. I
She was
remember
like the
that.
shot put or whatever in the
I
Olympics.
watched that movie a lot now that like we're talking about it because I'm like I remembered all their names and like I'm like oh yeah.
Trunchbull.
Yeah, Trunchbull. That's a yeah, I mean I liked it. Yeah, it was like dark but in that great kind of way, you
It's because
know.
it was a Roald Dahl,
Ronald
however you say his name.
Dahl.
Is it
Yeah.
Ronald? I thought it was like Roald.
Oh, is it? No, I thought it was Ronald. Ronald. Weasley. I have also been kind of the same as you, just in a little loop right now. I'm watching Monk though, because I'm just trying to make sure I finish the series in time for October. And then, of course, Dragon Ball Super, duh, getting pretty
Duh.
close to the end. And then
Sad.
I know, well, there still is all of the original actual Dragon Ball that it was all based on. I haven't actually watched that one yet. And there's technically another one that Andrew says is like horrible and no one likes. But I mean, I could always give that one a shot. And
You're
then
like, but I might.
I might. And then they just released like this video of like, it was what was his last project he was working on before he passed away. And it's like, I think it was called Diama or something like that. But basically, it's like Muppet Babies, but for Goku. Like
Oh.
something happens and they all get like turned into children again, basically.
Oh.
So then they're all like children doing, the same shit. So I was like, ooh, that seems good. So I'm like, there'll still be more. Yeah, that's the way I gotta look at
Yeah. You're like, I can't let go yet.
it. I'm not
It's been such a big part of my life.
right. Since last year.
Yeah. That's a long time in TV world.
And pretty much that's it. And I've been listening to Sinisterhood podcast, and then also I started a new one called Three, and it is by I think it's part of Audio Chuck or Crime Junkie. They did a preview of it, and then I got pretty interested, so I went and found to listen to more of it. It's regarding the Skylar Neese case, which is really fucked up. It was those young teenage girls who like murdered their best friend, basically.
Okay. Was
And
that
it
like the
was
Slender Man thing or?
no, it wasn't that one, but it was just one where it was kind of like mean girl shit, like these two girls. Oh, one girl's like, so far it sounds like she's probably like a psychopath or something, or like
Mm,
sociopath, because she was like the best friend and it was her idea, I think, or they made a joke about, oh, we should just murder her, because they were always kind of like getting in fights and stuff. And then they turned it, no, they planned it and murdered her. And this was in
damn.
the early years of more like social media. So like they tweeted a lot, and there's like a
Like
lot of
Jawbreaker.
a little bit. Yeah, I mean, kind of not as campy, obviously, like
Because it
this
was
was
real.
because this was grisly listening to how just kind of fucked up these kids were. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I was at work today, and then I was like, well, I was listening to my murder show. Like, good Lord. Like, this is just the world we live in now, Some of
Sometimes a little too much information at our fingertips.
yeah. Anyways, in this episode, we watched 2001's Frailty for our finality of Sinful September.
So
It was
sinful.
it was directed by Bill Paxton, and it was his directorial debut. It was written by Brent Hanley, produced
Which
by
I had no idea.
Oh, you had no idea he had directed it?
No, I did not.
Sweet. I had knew that and then forgot. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, he also directed this. Because I believe I saw it when I did some with the facts with Twister, and they were just talking about Bill Paxton and something. And then I was like, oh,
In
yeah.
general, yeah.
It was produced by David Kirshner. It's starring Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey, Powers Booth, Luke Askew, Jeremy Sumpter, and Matt O'Leary. Cinematography by Bill Butler. It was edited by Arnold Glassman. Music by Brian Tyler. And it was released November 7th, 2001 at the Deep Ellum Film Festival. And in the US, it was April 12th, 2002. The running time, 99 minutes.
Perfect.
Right at the sweet spot. Budget was 11 million and the box office was only 17.4. I was
Hmm.
surprised by that. I
I wasn't, because I remember it didn't have a whole lot of like advertising, I guess.
maybe um I remember Aunt Daisy rented it from Blockbuster right when it came out and we just thought it was amazing. So
Yeah, we did too,
I
but
assumed
I
everyone
didn't
else
see it
did.
in theaters, so.
That's true. It was maybe more of a quick like direct to video thing or something like
Hmm.
after. And oh, fun facts. Stephen King has been said that this is one of his favorite movies, like, or he really enjoyed it. Like, it got raving reviews from Stephen King,
Wow.
among some other horror people. I forgot to write this one down, so I can't tell you the other two people. The script, though, did make a tremendous impression on Bill Paxton as well. He basically had been reading it, and then he was just so like about it. Like he was like, wow, like I really like this, that he just wanted more involvement than just playing the role of dad. Like he wanted
Hmm.
to be like, you know what? I think this could be something I could actually direct. Um, he began his film career as a set dresser for Roger Corman, by the way. I just thought I would throw that out there too. I thought that
Who?
was Bill Paxton.
No, who's Roger?
Roger Corman, he had just passed away not so long ago. He always did all the a lot of like those over the top. He would just make whatever movies. I got it here. I'm looking for I can't think of one now off the top of my head now that you've asked.
What was his last name? And I'll look it up. I know who he is now. I got a
Yeah,
picture.
he produced a lot. Anyway, yeah, as you can see, a lot of crazy almost like exploitation style, I guess. I don't know what they
Okay.
call that genre that he did. Or maybe also just cheap. Anyway, so yeah, he was very on board and he wanted to be the one to direct it as well. He's quoted to have said it's intricate, it's complicated, it's an original noir gothic thriller that's set in East Texas. So he's like, I knew the landscape, I know the characters, I know the parameters of this kind of story from working on the films A Simple Plan, One False Move, and Traveler. He's like, I learned a lot working with directors such as Sam Raimi. So he thought, I can do this. So like, oh, that's cool on him.
Hmm.
Because I will say for this to be his like debut, it was well done, you know.
Oh yeah. I thought so.
The
In that
axe
aspect.
that says Otis in the film, we're never really told of the significance or why it's called Otis. Um, what we do know is that it's speculated only that maybe it's the dad character's name because you don't get his name. Others believe it's just an acronym for Only the Innocent Survive. It is loosely based on the case of American serial killer Joseph Callinger, who murdered 3 people and tortured 4 families. He committed these crimes with his 13-year-old son Michael between 1974 and 75 in New Jersey. He pled insanity, claiming God had told him to kill.
Okay.
Yeah. The film was originally set to be in Tyler, Texas, which is a real town in East Texas, because it did have a public rose garden. So I guess that was kind of some of the, inspiration with
Okay.
that.
Right.
But they were kind of, Bill Paxton was also quoted to say that he was worried that Tyler, being set to like a movie like this, that would get hit, another quote, a bunch of goths out there in the middle of the night digging around the rose garden when the movie comes out.
Oh, that's so funny. A bunch of goths out there in the middle of the night.
So they made the fictional town of Thurman. They had a 37-day shooting schedule. They also shot in the locations of West Covina, Silmar, Sun Valley, and parts of Los Angeles. So I don't believe any of it was actually filmed in Texas at all.
Okay.
It was just where it was supposed to be based. Bill Paxton, on like his view of the film, is he feels like what he saw immediately was a more old Hollywood approach. He wanted all of the darkness to be more implied instead of being explicit. You hear a chop, you hear screams, but it's never exceptionally gory or anything like that. He didn't want it to
Mm-hmm.
be like shocking necessarily. He has even said he wanted it to be more like a Hitchcock, like a more of a like old school suspense, like, and more thriller than full on horror necessarily. So I thought that was kind of cool. The producer, Kirshner, has been quoted to say regarding the film, "Today, if someone says God spoke to me, we think that they're crazy. Yet the Old Testament is based on God's conversations with Moses." So he's like, we want to believe that if it happened then, but we can't accept that it might happen now. And that's what's so fascinating about the movie, is this could suggest that what if it is possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they don't imply that till the very end.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I'll say that when looking up reviews and certain things, a lot of people, while I understand why they're getting that reference out of this movie of like, oh, because people are like, oh, it just shows you what the dangers of religion could do, and like blah blah blah, and oh, it makes them crazy, and you'd be raised in this, and how would you know any better? And I mean, which is valid points, but I'm like, yeah, but the movie, spoiler alert, like
He was really being talked to
he
by God,
yeah,
apparently.
I mean, they it's more than even implied, like they're showing it to you that he knows these things, and they basically told us that these things are true.
Right.
So I'm like, no, that's still not grounded in that. It's more grounded of just, oh, what if God really still did talk to someone and was telling them to do crazy shit like this?
Yeah. Right. And he's being protected because he's a man of God.
Yeah, or whatever. So yeah, I just noticed that I saw that a lot, and then I was like, did they watch that in the
Right?
movie?
Like at the end it kind of wraps it all up where yeah, he's God's right hand man.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
his spoiler alert, his dad wasn't crazy.
So that was the fun facts, and Jess is gonna take it away with that you Googled summary.
One day, a widowed blue collar worker has a revelation. He must destroy those revealed to him as demons. He then begins the serial killings of God's hand killer across Texas. But he also has two young sons, the younger of whom idolizes him and believes in the cause, while his older brother is revolted and cannot bring himself to stop his father. 20 years later, the elder son walks into a police station and confesses.
All right. So we mentioned it a little bit, but uh when do you remember the first time you saw this movie or what you thought about it?
I saw it when it came out, not in theaters, but definitely on DVD, and I loved
Mhm.
it. Then, like,
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Like we all know, I was in love with Matthew McConaughey.
I know,
I
and he's
thought
not
it was
even in
like,
it that much.
no, he's really not. It's a little interview with the vampire style.
Yeah, definitely.
Rewatching it, I thought it was boring.
Uh,
I was like, this is boring, first off. Like,
it
I was not impressed this time at all.
it was a rough go around because, like you said, I've mentioned already, I remember
I
one of
thought it
our
was such
aunts
like a
renting it.
mind fuck back
Yeah,
then.
and it's just the ending that's kind of better, and
Eh.
Yeah, so we just loved it though back then. And yeah, you thought it was kind of a mind fuck and oh, how crazy. And from what
Oh my
I
God, it turned out to
remember,
be Mathew. Like that was a big twist.
yeah, that was his big twist. And well, I felt like at the end they M. Night Shyamalan me.
Right.
Because they have the one twist, and then they also have the other twist, like like he when he kills his dad, and then all that. Oh,
Right.
he's not the brother. Like blah blah blah. Like every time they're trying to like turn it around. Whoop whoop whoop. There's a twist. There's twist. There's twist. So yeah, it was really weird. Watching it again because I didn't remember exactly. I thought it was left open ended to for us to figure out, oh, did he really see demons or, was he just crazy? And then I was like, oh no, the ending made it pretty clear.
Made it very clear. I couldn't remember. I didn't remember if it wrapped it up on that part either. I just knew my memories was that Mathew was the actual killer. That was it. Like I didn't remember. I thought his dad was like a violent man that beat him and locked him in a cellar, and that's why he went crazy.
No, I remember the like kind of demon thing and him like thinking they were chosen or whatever and him kind of being like, but I thought it was more of yeah, he was just like a straight up serial killer though. And then he just got his kids involved. And again, I thought it was like either left open ended or like they were in like whatever that shared psychosis, kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
Like something like that was what I
Yeah, or
thought.
like that episode of SVU. Or
Exactly.
was it Criminal Minds? It might have been
I
Criminal
know what you're
Minds.
talking. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was. That's
But yeah, that's
exactly. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's how it was, right? It's like that episode. No, it was not. It was not like that
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, so with that we'll just get like fully into it. We kind of have basically that's all there is to say. Show over.
And adieu. It was not what I was expecting, and good night. Because the whole
And
time they really make you think that the older brother is the only one with any sense, with any like moral code, essentially.
okay, so this is my problem with little fentanyl. Because yes,
Fentanyl.
that is what I called him.
Didn't even think about that, but yeah, his name is Fenton.
So little fentanyl Meeks.
If that ain't a tweaker's name.
I don't know what is. Um they very much, yeah, make you believe he is the kid of reason or whatever, and
Mhm.
that the dad is crazy. And that's where they kind of lose you though at the end, because he is fighting against his dad murdering people, and he doesn't see the demons or whatever like the
And
kid
he's
other.
a demon because he can't see that. Like this whole time, he's been taking care of his brother. He basically raised his brother. He does the dishes. He's a good kid.
Yeah, and
So he's a
then
demon.
yeah, and that's why I'm like, well, maybe it is supposed to be open to interpretation. So the only thing I can think of that would make sense with a lot of like those reviews I talked about, and if maybe it is open ended, because Matthew McConaughey's character this entire time has been a pretty unreliable narrator. We already know he was lying about being little fentanyl to the FBI
Right.
agent the whole time to get what he wanted. Um, but then also they talk about how Fenton was leaving notes and mutilating and torturing bodies, and then keeping the bodies in his house is what
And that
Matthew
made no
McConaughey
sense
says.
either.
Yeah, because I'm like, why would he do that?
Or
Like,
are the bodies, is he putting the bodies there? Because he put the FBI agent's body there, right?
no, he put that in the rose garden. Because see,
Oh,
that's
he
the
just put
thing.
the
Yeah.
wallet in
Because he
the
tells the guy, because the FBI guy's like, wait, this is like more than six bodies. And he was like, yeah, that's because these aren't those people. These are
these are
demons.
demons.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, Fenton, like, he kept his bodies like and for himself and blah blah blah. Like, so that's what I'm saying. This whole boring ass fucking movie, we kind of watch like these boring scenes in between. He was like defying his dad, and that was kind of the only reason. Like, he was still being the better person because he wasn't murdering people.
Right.
And like you said,
Yeah.
he was still taking it. So my argument would be, did God make him a serial killer? Because the angel said, oh, he's a demon, and he's what, gonna grow up to do that? But how did
Yeah.
they?
But
But yeah,
that
only
it's probably
because,
like that cycle. Like he grows up to do that because his dad's that way. And
oh
they
yeah,
knew that he was going to grow up to
exactly.
be like that because God can see all. So he's like, go ahead and nip it in the bud. Go ahead and kill him now.
Yeah, but still, how fucked up would that be?
No, it
Like,
is.
we're
I
gonna make him
know.
yeah, oh well, he's gonna be a serial killer because you're making him kill people.
Because he was too old when you started killing people.
Yeah.
Adam is young enough that he can be brainwashed. Fentanyl was a little too old to where he's like, I think this is fucked up, Dad. I think
Yeah.
you're crazy.
Yeah, and they established that pretty
And also, this is a public rose garden.
exactly. That's my one problem I had with this too, because I'm like, okay, who are the people maintaining this garden? They have to see these
Somebody's
fucking.
maintaining the rose garden. Or was that part of the deal because they lived in that house?
No, it wasn't. They just mentioned that they got a good deal because
Yeah.
it was the groundskeeper or whatever for a long time, but it wasn't anymore. It was just like part of their side of their yard, basically, they could go into. But
Mm-hmm.
then obviously the rose garden goes in disrepair later, um, after they died. So I'm like, so who was taking care of this garden?
And did nobody come to the public rose garden? Because I feel like that'd be a place I'd like to go check out if I lived
Yeah.
nearby.
And like I said, so when these kids were sent off to an orphanage, everyone's like, "Oh, guess we're not going to take care of the rose garden no more." Like,
Right. Like they wouldn't
like,
be sold to somebody else. You think the government gives a shit if your dad's dead and
hmm.
you're not
And
old enough
then,
to get it?
and why would God, for one, uh, make this man do that at this time in his life anyway? Um,
And two, they didn't talk nothing about being religious.
yeah, not really.
Like they didn't say they went to church every Sunday or they didn't say grace before they ate dinner.
I know.
So you're
So it was
first off,
like,
you'd be like, God's coming to me when I'm not even that religious. Are you sure it's God, dude? He wants you to
yeah.
kill people with an axe you found in an old shack. Are you sure that's God?
And he's like, the angel told me. And he has like a whole fucking list of things the angels like told him. They're having whole conversations,
Because he's
like
taking notes
leaving.
under a car,
Yeah. And
apparently.
then leaving a list, like a hit list essentially. And he's like, they look like
Mm-hmm.
people, but they're not people. It's just, it's kind of, yeah, it's wild. And then just like I said, knowing the end, and I'm like, well, I guess he really is supposed to be seeing God. I know that kind of just makes it more fucked up.
Right. That doesn't make it better. But yeah, so public rose garden, we discussed that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's keeping up with it? What there is something else that was like, oh, first off, my favorite part is at the end when he's talking about burying him in the rose garden, his brother, and the FBI agent's like, well, that don't make no damn sense. And he's like, it makes perfect sense if you're talking to Adam. Ooh, what a twist there.
I
You're
know.
actually his brother. But the way he
So
said
crazy.
that was just so funny. It makes perfect sense if we're talking to Adam Meeks.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so shocking. And that was obviously the worst FBI agent ever. And why did
Def
he kill his mother?
yeah, they don't tell you that at all.
At
Just that
all. I love how they try to make him look young by putting a wig on him.
And he was in a very snazzy shirt.
Right. And his mother's just minding her own business, hanging up probably his laundry.
I know it was yeah, it was like I said, just kind of a weird watch.
You didn't think anybody knew about that, did you?
They definitely, you could feel that was being shoehorned in the entire time too.
Yeah.
Like they definitely were trying to foreshadow it. And because I even saw this quote of Bill Paxton's where it's like, oh, it's meant to be watched like a couple of times. So you like pick up, the little things. But I'm like,
The
nah,
nuances.
you were pretty heavy handed with, hey, who's your mom there? Oh, is
Yeah,
that your
right.
mom? Oh,
Who,
let me just
why
take that
do you have a
picture.
picture of you and your mom there? Why that specific picture?
He's like,
Because I
well,
killed her
dang.
later.
Yeah, like, oh my God. So yeah, so basically, if you can't already tell, guys, we're just a little like about this movie. But
Yeah,
the
it's
overall,
so funny how you can remember something so differently.
it's crazy because like the gist of this movie, and even when I say this, people, if you haven't seen this movie, are gonna be intrigued, and then you would want to watch it, and I wouldn't blame
Hmm.
you. And I mean, I still say, sure, go ahead and give it a watch, but yeah, it starts out, like I said, yeah, perfect little single dad kind of 70s family. He's doing his best. And then all of a sudden he gets angels talking to him and telling him this crazy shit to kill demons. Oldest son doesn't want to. Youngest son, like you said, impressionable, good age to be brainwashed.
Right?
Um,
His dad's
but
his idol.
claims he can see the sins of the so-called demons. Adam and the dad both say they can,
And he sure
and
didn't act like he could. Like little boy, like
well,
he
they
acted like
always
he was
just show him
faking.
kind of like standing there with his mouth kind of open. So I don't
Right.
know if that's because the boy actor kind of sucked or
Shock. Oh.
yeah. And then the older brother, like we've also mentioned, is older and he's like, no, and he's not seeing anything. So then the dad actually does start bringing people and murdering them and chopping their heads off in front of the children,
Because they need
which
to
sounds
see it.
very fucked up. They got to see it. They got to participate. They're chosen by God.
Meanwhile,
Uh,
he just didn't have to tell him anything.
right? Like,
And then the whole digging the hole situation.
yeah, and that's where we're gonna get. That's what I was gonna bring up because like they established basically that the eldest is bumping heads. He's gonna try to get help eventually. And until then, before that happens, his dad makes him dig this giant hole for a cellar that's going to essentially be their killing like cellar
Hmm.
for demons.
For Damon's.
And the kid is defiant the whole time. And because he's telling him he needs to pray, do all this. Then he locks the kid in the cellar. So at this point, yeah, in the part of the movie, you're like, what
Just locks
the
him
fuck
in
is
there. He
going
nails it
on?
shut.
Shut. And he only allows him one water a day and basically brings him to the brink of death and dehydration and malnourishment. So he says he saw God just to go along with it at this point, because he has plans of his own. And what does he do? He ends up killing the dad. So that way he's thinking he's doing them a favor and ending the cycle of terror. But obviously, it only separated them and sent them into other orphanages. And he, I guess, grows up to then become a serial killer.
And murdering
And
innocent people
yeah, like
that he
that's
was so
where
against.
there's such a disconnect. Like, yeah, it's such a disconnect because again, I think we've mentioned, Matthew McConaughey later, who is Adam, is talking about how he's like, yeah, keeping the victims. I don't know. It just
Doesn't
doesn't
add
make
up.
sense. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah, something else happened there, obviously.
Right? I don't know. And then at that
Or
point, I'm
obviously, we're
just
not getting
like,
fentanyl side of the story either.
no, we're not. We're not. Because remember, even in the beginning, it shows him like blowing his brains out and this and that. And that's
But
why I'm
and
saying
that's
I
not what
don't
happened
even
anyway.
exactly. And so that's why I'm thinking the little demon flashback things where it's like showing the lady with like that dead guy. I guess she like slit his throat or something. And then it shows
Right.
like the old man like kidnapping a little girl. I'm like, well, is that reliable? Because in the beginning, they showed us a flashback or, to something that happened and it didn't actually happen. So I don't know. What do you think now after we've discussed it a little further? Do you think it is meant to be like an unreliable narrator situation and it is more open-ended, or do you really think that they really are just weird people of God who are murdering demons like Sam and Dean in Supernatural?
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's just the tape stuff and everything. That's where I'm
That's what
like,
I was
yeah,
thinking.
where
Because
I
I'm
was
like,
like
well,
that.
it's just so happened to be blurred out on his face, and the guy shook his hand and couldn't remember his face, and
Yeah. So I'm like, well, that has to be then.
some kind of supernatural ability.
Yeah. So I guess we could conclude, yes, it was probably supposed to be God.
It was probably supposed to be a Sam and Dean situation, but he killed his dad and ruined everything.
Because he's a demon.
It's just how they switch it around. They get you on Fenton's side the whole movie until the very end, to where you're like, oh, okay.
I know, to where then honestly, I'm still kind of on Fenton's side.
Yeah, because well, I'm like, well, he said he was a murderer, and then is he? Or is he just like framing him the whole time?
Yeah, I don't know. And what was he doing with the bodies? Why was he mutilating them? Like, I don't, it just, again, it
Did it
doesn't,
say
yeah,
they were
you're like,
mutilating him?
yeah, because he was like, oh, they found the first body was horribly mutilated, and there was a note, and the note said that you wouldn't find any more bodies, but there would just be a note or something like that. Like, it
Oh, I
was
think
such
he was
a,
trying to like lure in his brother, though. I think that's what they had said at one point.
yeah. So I wonder if that was the case the whole time. Was he
He was trying to murder his own
behaving like
demons.
a demon so he could possibly kill
Lure
his
his
brother
brother.
too? I don't know. I don't
But he
know. But
didn't
I'm like,
even
they're still killing
try.
people.
Yeah, and
It's
he
just
didn't try to kill
weird.
his brother. Like he just sat there at the
No.
table,
Yeah.
his head smashed in with a pipe.
Yeah.
He's like, I found my magical tools from God.
It's a pair of
A
garden gloves
lead
and
pot in the conservatory.
that's exactly what I thought too. I'm like, are we playing Clue?
We're playing Clue.
What is
Lead
this?
pot. We got an Otis X. And what was the other one? Wasn't there three?
It was the lead pipe and the axe and then the gloves.
Oh, so he just got the last two all in one? The
Yeah, I
gloves and
guess
the axe
so.
together.
Because he was like, and then he's like, I don't know what the gloves are for.
Maybe to put on your hands.
And then there was one part where dad or Bill Paxton's character like comes like in the very first time bringing the lady, and then I all I could think of was again for twist where it's like, well, there's crazy Bill.
Bill really is crazy.
Oh man. So yeah, overall, I have to say it is like a classic horror suspense in a traditional way. I do give him that. But and this is only 99 minutes long, but it felt much longer.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of boring in parts where it didn't really, I will say he still should have built up more anticipation a little bit because it kind of, yeah, felt a little more like matter of fact. It almost felt like we were sitting down for story time, but the story isn't like that exciting
Yeah.
for the subject matter that it is. It sounds like it should be way more exciting or scary or just even suspenseful.
Right. It was more kind of like child abuse watching.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it
was
really
like, I felt
was.
like I'm kind of just watching him abuse these kids. Exposing them to like chopping people's heads off and nailing them shut in a cellar.
Yeah, it was a little rough, a little rough. So I have to say, I probably won't watch this movie again.
No, I don't think I will either. I
Yeah,
can't believe I used to love it so much. It's
I
crazy.
I still give it 3 stars on Letterbox because I it could definitely be worse. Like I
Oh
don't,
yeah,
yeah,
like
like I didn't hate it.
I don't think the movie per se was terrible. I think it was just such a disappointment considering what my memories were of it.
Yeah, that's more of it was had that hype that was already in your head to live up to.
Yeah, that fall
Hmm.
way short.
And I mean, you got to think too, considering when it was released, and we've seen so many movies now that have such greater twists, or, like more
Yeah.
intricate, like kind of plot lines for that kind of stuff where you're like, okay, this one walked so others could run.
Right. Oh, that's funny. I just noticed it was on Tubi. I could
Yeah,
go
I
watch
wasn't going to
it
do
from there.
commercials. I wasn't about that.
I hooked up my DVD player and
That's
watched it
what
that way.
I was going to ask you if
And you
you
know
were
what
able.
else I just saw that was right next to it in my giant case that has my DVDs in it?
What?
13 Ghosts.
Oh my
I was like, well,
God.
how perfect is that?
Nice. So
That'll
you
be
don't have to
another
pay for
free
the
one.
next two movies because
I
Monk is on
know.
Netflix. There you go.
Exactly. That'll save me like $12.
Perfect. Nah, I rented it. I paid like $3 and some change.
For this bullshit.
Nah, I know it's bullshit movie.
Yeah, so I was 17 when this movie came out.
Oh, so I was 14.
Hmm. That's why we thought it was so great. And I'm like, and yeah, and Matthew McConaughey is really not even in it.
No, it's just at the very beginning
And
and
you
then that
barely
little
hear
bit
his
in the end.
voice throughout the movie, and that's it. Just like Rain of
Yeah.
Fire, I was so like hyped up on that movie. I'm like, he's barely even in it.
You were watching whatever you could get. All right, guys. Well, that was Frailty. And as always, you can find us at Film Gazers on all the social meds.
Meds.
And you're more than welcome to join the Discord if you want to, Film Gazers podcast community. And stay tuned, of course, for the Spooky Shaloub in October.
It's gonna be
And
great.
we'll announce our Big Back November picks probably on the next episode as well. And we might leave you hanging until probably the end of October. I feel like will be the good reveal for what we have in store for December.
That
What
sounds
we'll
good.
end the year with.
Right. I think it'll be an appropriate way to end the year.
Yeah, probably. Time to hit the dusty trail.
Until next time. Later,
Later,
taters.
taters.